Your greatest advantage in life isn't your talent, your education, or your connections. It's that everyone around you has dramatically underestimated what you're capable of achieving. While they've been busy writing you off, you've been quietly preparing for a comeback they never saw coming. The teacher who said you weren't college material, the boss who passed you over for promotion, the family member who told you to lower your expectations, they all made the same fatal mistake. They confused your current situation with your permanent potential. They looked at where you are right now and assumed that's where you'll always be. But here's what they missed. Every person who has ever accomplished something extraordinary started exactly where you are, surrounded by people who couldn't see their future success. You remember that moment, the exact second when someone looked at you and decided you weren't enough. Maybe it was your father shaking his head when you shared your dreams. Maybe it was a teacher who told you to be more realistic about your future. Maybe it was a boss who passed you over for a promotion because you were too quiet, too young, or too different from what they expected success to look like. That moment burns in your memory because it changed something inside you. It planted a seed of doubt that has been growing ever since. They thought you were weak, and for a while, you started to believe them. But here's what they didn't understand. Here's what they couldn't see. Weakness isn't what they thought it was. Being quiet doesn't mean you have nothing to say. Being careful doesn't mean you're afraid. Being different doesn't mean you're less capable. They looked at you through their own limited lens and made a judgment that said more about them than it ever said about you. Society has this strange way of putting people into boxes. If you don't speak the loudest in the room, you must not have confidence. If you take time to think before you act, you must be indecisive. If you've failed before, you must not have what it takes to succeed. These labels stick to us like glue, and before we know it, we start wearing them as if they were true. Your mother might have meant well when she told you to lower your expectations. Your friends might have thought they were protecting you when they suggested you play it safe. Your colleagues might have believed they were being realistic when they doubted your abilities. But their well-meaning advice became a prison that kept you small, kept you quiet, kept you from seeing what you were truly capable of. The crushing weight of other people's expectations is heavier than any physical burden you could carry. When everyone around you believes you're limited, when they treat you as if your ceiling is lower than everyone else's floor, something happens to your spirit. You start to shrink. You start to play small. You start to believe that maybe they're right about you, but they weren't right. They were just comfortable with their own limitations and couldn't handle the idea that you might break free from yours. When people call you weak, they're often talking about their own fears. When they tell you that you can't achieve something, they're usually explaining why they never tried. When they doubt your potential, they're protecting themselves from having to face their own unused talents. The teacher who told you that you weren't college material might have been afraid of pushing herself to learn something new. The boss who said you weren't management material might have been threatened by your fresh ideas. The family member who discouraged your business dreams might have been scared of taking their own risks. Their judgment of your weakness was actually a confession of their own limitation. Think about the people who have accomplished extraordinary things in this world. Henry Ford was called a failure by his investors. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television news. Steven Spielberg was rejected from film school 3 times. Every single one of these people had moments when others saw weakness where they should have seen potential. The difference between those who break through and those who break down isn't talent, luck, or circumstances. It's the ability to see being underestimated as an advantage rather than an obstacle. When people think you're weak, they stop watching you closely. They stop competing with you directly. They give you space to grow, to learn, to become stronger without interference. Being seen as weak becomes your secret weapon because it gives you something that successful people rarely have: the element of surprise. While others are busy proving themselves in obvious ways, you can work quietly, consistently, powerfully, building strength that no one sees coming. You can develop skills, create value, and prepare for opportunities without anyone trying to stop you. The moment someone first called you weak wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your transformation. That sting you felt, that burning sensation of being underestimated, wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to wake you up. It was meant to show you that you have something to prove, not to them, but to yourself. Every person who has ever achieved something significant has stood where you're standing right now. They've felt the weight of doubt, the pressure of low expectations, the loneliness of being the only one who believes in their potential. But they understood something that changed everything. They realized that being thought of as weak wasn't a verdict. It was an opportunity. Your weakness, as they defined it, is about to become your greatest strength. Your quiet nature is about to become focused determination. Your sensitivity is about to become emotional intelligence. Your failures are about to become wisdom. Your doubts are about to become fuel for the most important journey you'll ever take. The moment of doubt is over. The moment of decision has arrived. They thought you were weak, but they were wrong. They just gave you the motivation you needed to prove them wrong. What they called weakness was actually your preparation time. While others rushed to prove themselves, you were learning while they fought for attention. You were building substance. While they made noise, you were making progress. The very qualities that made them dismiss you were the same qualities that would eventually make them respect you. Think about it this way. When a boxer enters the ring, his opponent studies his stance, his movements, his obvious strengths. But the fighter who appears less threatening, who seems quieter, who doesn't show off before the match, he's the one who often delivers the knockout punch. Why? Because his opponent wasn't prepared for what he was truly capable of. Being underestimated in any competitive situation gives you an incredible advantage. Your competitors waste energy trying to intimidate you while you focus that same energy on improving your skills. They spend time talking about what they're going to do while you spend time actually doing it. They reveal their strategies to impress others while you keep your plans private and execute them perfectly. Lisa, a software developer, worked at a company where her male colleagues constantly talked over her in meetings. They assumed she was technically weak because she didn't argue loudly about every decision, but while they debated endlessly, she was coding. While they took credit for small improvements, she was building entire systems when the company needed someone to lead their most important project. Guess who had the proven track record of actual results? The quiet woman they had been ignoring for years. Her sensitivity, which others might see as weakness, is actually your superpower for understanding what people really need. While others bulldoze through conversations, you listen while they make assumptions. You ask questions. While they create solutions based on what they think is important, you create solutions based on what actually matters to the people who will use them. The difference between being weak and being wise enough to wait is enormous. Weak people react to every situation immediately. Wise people choose their battles carefully. Weak people try to prove themselves in every moment. Wise people build their reputation through consistent performance over time. What others mistook for hesitation was actually you being smart enough to act when the timing was right. Every setback you've experienced, every failure you've endured, every moment when you felt defeated, these weren't signs of weakness. They were building blocks of strength that others simply haven't had to develop yet. People who have never failed haven't learned how to bounce back. People who have never been rejected haven't learned persistence. People who have never been doubted haven't learned to believe in themselves. Marcus started 3 businesses that failed before he turned 30. His family called him unstable. His former classmates called him a dreamer who couldn't face reality. But each failure taught him something that his successful friends didn't know. He learned how to read markets, how to manage cash flow, how to hire the right people, and most importantly, how to keep going when everything looked hopeless. His 4th business made him a millionaire before his 35th birthday. The compound effect of small daily improvements that nobody notices is where real strength is built. While others are looking for quick wins and instant recognition, you're developing the discipline to get better every single day. You're reading when they're watching television. You're practicing when they're complaining. You're learning when they're making excuses. Your strength isn't the kind that shows up in a single dramatic moment. It's the kind that shows up consistently, reliably, powerfully, over months and years of steady progress. It's the strength that comes from doing the right thing even when no one is watching. It's the strength that comes from getting up every morning and working toward your goals even when you don't feel like it. The people who called you weak measured strength by the wrong standards. They thought strength meant being the loudest voice in the room. Real strength is having something worth saying. They thought strength meant never showing emotion. Real strength is caring deeply about your work and the people you serve. They thought strength meant never asking for help. Real strength is being secure enough to learn from anyone who can teach you something valuable. Every day that you were building this quiet strength, you were preparing for a moment that you couldn't see coming. A moment when all of your preparation would pay off. A moment when your patience would turn into opportunity. A moment when your persistence would turn into breakthrough. That moment is closer than you think. While others have been coasting on natural talent or early advantages, you've been developing something much more powerful, the ability to create results through pure determination and skill. You've been developing the kind of strength that doesn't fade when things get difficult. You've been developing the kind of strength that gets stronger under pressure. They thought they saw weakness, but they were watching strength in development. Now it's time to show them what you've been building all along. The moment you decide to use their doubt as your fuel, everything changes. Every person who said you couldn't do it just handed you free energy to prove them wrong. Every time someone underestimated you, they just gave you more reason to succeed. Every doubt they expressed became another log on the fire of your determination. This is where the real transformation begins. Instead of letting their low expectations crush your spirit, you let them clarify your mission. Their criticism becomes your compass, pointing you toward exactly what you need to prove. When your boss says you'll never be management material, you now know exactly what goal to work toward. When family members say your business idea won't work, you now have a clear target to hit. The shift from victim to victor happens in your mind first. Victims ask why things happen to them. Victors ask how they can use what happens to them. Victims focus on what they lack. Victors focus on what they can build. Victims wait for circumstances to change. Victors change their circumstances through action. The success lies in the attitude. Rachel worked in a restaurant where customers frequently complained that she was too slow. Her manager threatened to fire her because other servers were faster. Instead of quitting, she decided to become the most thorough server in the restaurant. She memorized every ingredient in every dish. She learned about wine pairings. She studied customer service techniques. 6 months later, customers specifically requested her section because she provided an experience the fast servers couldn't match. The restaurant promoted her to head server. Your critics just gave you the clearest roadmap to success you could ever ask for. They told you exactly what they think you can't do. Now you know precisely what to focus on. They provided you with specific targets that, once hit, will silence every doubt they ever expressed about your abilities. Building momentum from rock bottom is actually easier than building it from a comfortable position. When you have nothing to lose, you can take bigger risks. When everyone expects you to fail, any progress you make looks impressive. When people count you out completely, even small victories feel like major triumphs. The compound interest of personal development works fastest when nobody's watching, while others are distracted by social media, office politics, and entertainment. You're investing every spare moment in becoming better. You're reading books, taking courses, practicing skills, and building knowledge that will pay dividends for the rest of your life. This is where patience becomes your greatest asset. Revenge success isn't about getting back at people quickly. It's about becoming so successful that their opinions become irrelevant. It's about reaching a level where their approval or disapproval has no impact on your life. It's about building something so solid that their doubts can't shake it. The most satisfying victories come from proving wrong the people who were supposed to believe in you but didn't. When you succeed despite their lack of support, it validates every difficult moment you endured. It proves that you didn't need their permission to become who you were meant to be. But here's the key. You can't let the desire to prove them wrong become your only motivation. That fire will only burn for so long. The real fuel comes from proving something to yourself. It comes from the satisfaction of knowing you pushed through when everything seemed impossible. It comes from the pride of building something valuable with your own hands and mind. Every day you show up and work toward your goals. Despite their doubts, you're proving something important. You're proving that their opinion of you has no power over your future. You're proving that you define your own worth. You're proving that being underestimated was the best thing that ever happened to you. Their doubt was never about your capability. It was about their comfort zone by succeeding despite their expectations. You give them permission to dream bigger too. Your transformation from underestimated to unstoppable becomes proof that anyone can rewrite their story. Now comes the practical part. Emotion and motivation will get you started, but systems and habits will get you to the finish line. You need a blueprint that turns your burning desire to prove them wrong into measurable results they cannot ignore or dismiss. First, write down exactly what they said you couldn't do. Be specific. Did they say you weren't smart enough for that promotion? Did they say your business idea would never work? Did they say you lacked the discipline to change your life? These become your target goals. You're going to hit every single one of them. Skill development matters more than natural talent because skills can be measured and improved. Talent is what you're born with. Skill is what you build through practice. When people doubt your talent, they're giving you permission to focus entirely on skill development. This is actually an advantage because skills compound faster than talent ever could. Take whatever area they questioned and break it down into learnable components. If they said you're not a good communicator, study public speaking, writing, and conversation techniques. If they said you're not leadership material, study decision making, team building, and strategic thinking. Every skill they said you lack can be developed through focused effort. Create daily habits that directly address their specific doubts if they questioned your work ethic. Start arriving 30 minutes early every day if they questioned your knowledge. Commit to reading for an hour each evening if they question your persistence. Set small daily goals and hit them consistently for 90 days straight. Document everything. Keep a journal of your progress, your learning, your small victories. When the time comes to prove them wrong, you'll have concrete evidence of your transformation. Numbers don't lie. Results speak louder than words. Progress recorded over time becomes impossible to deny. James was told by his college counselor that he wasn't graduate school material. Instead of arguing, he started tracking his study habits. He recorded how many hours he studied each day, what methods worked best, and how his grades improved. 2 years later, he was accepted into 3 graduate programs. His documentation showed a clear pattern of improvement that no one could question. Build relationships with people who see your potential while you're proving the doubters wrong. Find mentors, colleagues, and friends who believe in your growth. Their support will sustain you during difficult moments when progress feels slow. But don't tell everyone your plans. Work quietly until your results do the talking. The strategic timing of revealing your capabilities matters enormously. Don't show your hand too early. Let people maintain their low expectations while you build undeniable competence. Then, when the right opportunity comes, when the stakes are high enough to matter, that's when you demonstrate what you've been building. Most importantly, measure the right things. Don't measure how impressed people are with your efforts. Measure actual results. Don't measure how quickly you're improving. Measure how consistently you're improving. Don't measure how you feel about your progress. Measure the objective evidence of your progress. Success without arrogance is the goal when you finally prove them wrong. Resist the temptation to gloat or seek revenge. Your success is proof enough. Your transformation speaks for itself. Your results validate every moment of doubt you push through. A systematic approach works because it removes emotion from the equation. It replaces feelings with facts, wishes with work, and dreams with data. When someone questions your progress, you show them your numbers. When they doubt your capabilities, you show them your results. This systematic approach transforms you from someone trying to prove a point into someone who has already proven it. There comes a moment when everything shifts. It's not dramatic like in movies. It's quiet, almost unnoticeable at first, but suddenly the same people who once dismissed you start paying attention to what you say. The colleagues who used to interrupt you now listen when you speak. The family members who questioned your judgment now ask for your advice. The transformation is complete, and they never saw it coming. This is the moment when perception catches up with reality. All those months and years of quiet development, all those early mornings and late nights when you were building skills while they were making excuses, all those times you chose growth over comfort. It all becomes visible at once. The strength you built in private finally demands public recognition. Catherine worked as an administrative assistant at a marketing firm for 5 years. Her boss and colleagues treated her as invisible, assuming she was just there to answer phones and file papers. But Catherine had been listening to every strategy meeting, reading every industry report that crossed her desk, and studying marketing techniques online during her lunch breaks. When the company lost their biggest client due to a failed campaign, Catherine quietly presented a detailed proposal that not only won the client back, but expanded their contract by 40%. Within 6 months, she was promoted to marketing director. Her colleagues couldn't understand how she had become so capable so quickly. They didn't realize she had been preparing for that moment for years. The key to handling this transition gracefully is remembering why you started this journey. It wasn't just to prove them wrong, it was to prove yourself right. It wasn't just to gain their respect, it was to build something meaningful with your life. When you keep this perspective, success doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you grateful. True strength shows itself through humility, not dominance. When you finally prove your worth, you don't need to remind people of their past doubts. Your results speak for themselves. You don't need to make them feel small to make yourself feel big. Your growth is evidence enough of what dedication and persistence can accomplish. This is where your story becomes bigger than just personal success. Every person who doubted you is watching your transformation. Some will be inspired by what you've achieved, others will be threatened by it, but all of them will learn something important, that their judgment of someone's potential says more about their own limitations than it does about that person's capabilities. Your success gives permission to other underestimated people to dream bigger. The quiet person in your office who gets overlooked in meetings sees that patience and preparation pay off. The young entrepreneur who gets dismissed by investors sees that persistence overcomes prejudice. The student who struggles with confidence sees that strength can be built, not just inherited. David grew up in a neighborhood where teachers expected very little from students. His high school counselor told him he should consider trade school instead of college because his grades weren't good enough for university. David didn't argue. He enrolled in community college while working construction during the day. He studied civil engineering at night, taking twice as long to complete each course but mastering every concept thoroughly. After earning his associate degree with perfect grades, he transferred to a four-year university. After graduating with honors, he started his own construction company that specialized in sustainable building techniques. Today, he employs over 50 people and has been featured in architectural magazines for his innovative designs. That same high school counselor now uses David's story to encourage students who struggle academically. The responsibility that comes with proving your worth is significant. People will look to you as evidence of what's possible. Young people who feel overlooked will see your path and believe they can walk it too. Others who have been told they're not enough will see your transformation and realize that judgment doesn't determine destiny. Your story becomes proof that the people who matter most in determining your future are not the ones who doubt you, it's you. Every morning when you decide to get up and work toward your goals despite their skepticism, you're voting for yourself. Every time you choose learning over leisure, growth over comfort, action over excuses, you're building a case for your own potential. The legacy you leave isn't just about the success you achieve. It's about the permission you give others to ignore the voices that tell them they're not capable enough, smart enough, or strong enough to pursue their dreams. Your transformation from underestimated to unstoppable becomes a blueprint that others can follow. But here's the most important truth. This journey never really ends. The moment you prove them wrong about one thing, you'll face new doubts about the next challenge. The moment you master one skill, you'll need to develop another. The moment you reach one goal, you'll set a bigger one. What they thought was weakness becomes your permanent source of strength because it teaches you that growth is always possible. Years from now, when you look back at this moment, you'll realize that being underestimated was the greatest gift they could have given you. It forced you to develop self-reliance instead of depending on their approval. It pushed you to build real competence instead of relying on natural talent. It taught you that the only opinion that truly matters is the one you have of yourself. Your time is now. Your moment is here. Every person who said you couldn't make it just provided you with the fuel you needed to prove that you could. Every doubt they expressed became another reason to keep going. Every time they underestimated you, they underestimated themselves because they failed to see that strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build day by day, choice by choice, challenge by challenge. They thought you were weak, but they were wrong. Not because you were always strong, but because you were willing to become strong. Not because you never felt doubt, but because you acted despite the doubt. Not because you never failed, but because you never stopped trying. The person they never saw coming isn't the person you used to be. It's the person you decided to become when you refused to accept their limitations as your own. It's the person you became when you chose growth over comfort, when you chose persistence over surrender, when you chose to prove them wrong by proving yourself right. That person has been inside you all along, waiting for the right moment to step forward. That moment is now. Show them who you really are.